The University of Florida has now terminated all employees related to DEI. Chris Rufo has been
It's a
on the
beautiful
forefront.
morning.
Sing it, Josh.
Yeah. So, man, obviously DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. So racist means to separate students among things that they can't control, like their race, gender.
Foment hatred.
Foment hatred. It's like really bizarre. But so it was just terminated in Florida, which is kind of exciting because it makes it feel like there's some momentum, like it can be done in other places, because the college juggernaut just feels like a little bit impossible to poke a hole in the armor sometimes. But I saw a response to this, and I think this is worth thinking about. So this guy, Eric Weinstein, he was a part of something called the intellectual dark web, which I was trying to do a little bit of research into it. It sounds like it's been kind of irrelevant for a little while. So he responds, "This is great news, only it's not conservative. I'm sorry. As I have said repeatedly, DEI is effectively a, quote, mental illness that has infected a left of center party. It is not liberal or progressive. It's just evil. There are other mental illnesses inside the Republican Party that are fought by decent Republicans I very much admire. Those mental illnesses aren't somehow conservative. They're just evil. Many of us on the front lines of fighting this thing, coming for our country, are, quote, not conservatives. I'm sure you are anti-Nazi and anti-white supremacist, obviously, so I wouldn't call those things progressive. They are just common sense decency. Let's cut the divisive rhetoric. The point is to purge the country of the madness." They said, yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks, brah.
Yeah, thanks for the 2 cents. If you could go back to the Christopher Rufo response here. So I'll just start reading off. The problem with IDW is that they do not have a political theory. They have a podcast theory. Eric Weinstein is not, quote, on the front lines of the fight against DEI. And the moment conservatives score a real victory, he criticizes us for being, quote, divisive. Eric imagines a world where you can dismiss your enemy's ideological and bureaucratic dominance as a, quote, mental illness and, quote, just evil, and defeat it without any division. This is the political theory of a child, not a mature adult with well-developed sense of reality. In his post, he leavens his congratulations with the accusation that my political coalition is also a form of mental illness, and he thinks he is being generous by not assuming conservatives are neo-Nazis. This is not how a friend speaks, and as such, conservatives should not treat him as a friend. Eric, let's put up our records for scrutiny and let the public decide on who has the better model for change. On DEI, I have written model legislation, broken dozens of investigative stories, driven billions of media impressions, and worked with governors and lawmakers to pass bills in a half dozen states and abolish DEI directly at New College. You're podcasting. We are not the same.
So I think with Chris Rufo, I think his concern is that there have been a lot of voices, whether you call it the center or the right, who will pontificate and lambast and, go to the moon, sending out messages and podcasts and emails and crowing about how something is so terrible. And that actually has value. Like if you're educating people about all the bad things that are going on with DEI, that has value. But Chris Rufo takes it the next step and says, I'm actually going to try to introduce model legislation. I'm going to try to talk to lawmakers, go, here's what you can do about this. Do investigations, do a deep dive into things and find out what's going on and actually move the ball forward. Chris Rufo got appointed to the Board of Regents at the New College in Florida. And he's actually been able to implement policies to get rid of DEI. And then now at the University of Florida, that's another example. Senator Ben Sasse from Nebraska was just languishing in the Senate and wasn't doing much of anything. He was just basically an anti-Trump Republican, and he was out of step with his party. He finally quits the Senate and takes the job as president of the University of Florida. Awesome. He established free speech again right away. And now he dropped the axe on DEI. So thank you, Ben Sasse, for doing something of value. And that's awesome. And we should celebrate. That's what Rufo's getting at. This is not just saying the right things, it's following it up with action. And that's wonderful to see. Because I hear so many conservatives say ideas have consequences. Not unless you put them into action.
Exactly. And I think the last time we covered Rufo was when he was working in the Claudine Gay plagiarism case up at Harvard. And he had a great essay in, I think it was the Federalist. Correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, but the great essay about you can't just talk the talk, you have to actually make things happen. And he does. And people got mad at him. They were like, you're digging into this plagiarism, you're putting this woman out there and blah, blah, blah. But he got her fired. I mean, He's like, these people, if we can't just say DEI has to go, we have to make them go. Because this isn't like a dialogue we're having with progressives anymore. This is they just need to be gone. And he does it, and he gets them gone. And
Because what's happening is that people that foment this kind of hate and spread these kind of lies are getting jobs everywhere and becoming institutionalized. And they get these perches, and from these perches, they spew out this hate. And so Chris Ruffo's like, maybe we should just, eliminate these jobs because they're not doing anything of value. And in fact, they're spreading lots of dissent, discord, and hatred amongst people. Like, it's horrible. Like, they should lose their jobs. And people are, how could you? Oh, it's just terrible. You talk about scalps
so extreme
and losing
and
their
divisive.
jobs. It's like, yeah, I mean, you know what? When people are doing rotten and evil things, I celebrate when they lose their jobs. So, maybe that makes me Old Testament. Give me a kiss. I don't care. When people from MSNBC get laid off, I celebrate. That's a good thing. That's a good day for America because they're a wretched organization.